Okay, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for already sharing some of your thoughts. I am Lavinia. I am a co-founder and the learning architect at Offbeat. And Offbeat is a learning platform dedicated to L&D professionals because we have to learn as well, right? So we took it upon ourselves to design learning programs and learning spaces for L&Ds to be able to focus on their learnings as well. Now, before I move over, can you please give me a sign that you are alive, that you're here with me? You can write something in the chat. You can, yes, emojis, use emojis. You can wave at the camera. Robin, yeah, I think you're the only one that you can do so. You can go off mute and say hi as well. So many emojis. Awesome. Oh, hi, Teresa. Feel here.
Lonely.
Hello, everyone. That's great. I'm very happy that everyone is here ready to talk about one of the most discussed topics in the world. I wouldn't even dare to say in L&D, but definitely in the world. So this is what we're gonna do in the next couple of minutes, in the next hour. We are going to hear a couple of thoughts from Rita, but we are also going to interact, whom I'm going to introduce later, by the way. And we're also going to interact. I will ask you some questions, and you're more than welcome to go off mute and respond, or write in the chat, however you feel comfortable. And you can also ask questions whenever you want. Like, please drop them in the chat. We're going to make sure that we're going to take the time to reply. And at the end of Rita's presentation, feel free to go off mute and share your thoughts, share your questions. If you have like experiences you want to share, they are more than welcome. Okay, all good? You can do like thumbs up. Thank you so much. Awesome. Then I will share my screen once again, and we're gonna start with a question from my side. And the question is, what really drew you to this session? Again, I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds. You can reply in the chat. You can go off mute. Whatever you can do. I know some people might be in the car and they wouldn't be able to write in the chat. Just feel free to share with us, why are you here? Why are you taking the next 40 to 50 minutes to be here with us and not, I don't know, do something else? Okay, Cassie, I feel behind and want to figure out where I can start really diving to where I should be looking in terms of AI for L&D. Okay, we have a heart from Robin as well. Learn relevant use cases for AI in L&D. Curious to learn more about how we can utilize AI in supporting us as L&D professionals. Willingness to learn how AI can shape or influence L&D. Dabbled in AI, but feel like there is more I can do. Ooh, I am there with you, Sarah. Okay, so we are either just starting to learn about AI and we're trying to figure it out. It's such a complex topic. We are also curious to learn how AI can be applied in L&D. Some of us might feel a bit overwhelmed by everything. Fiona says that the title is intriguing because there's definitely a lot of AI hype, and I feel like it's not over. It's gonna be here with us. Interested in tools, love to learn how to use AI for skills, conversation practice, but also potentially how to automate program build. Awesome. One very quick thought that I want to share with you. If you feel like at any point we are not answering one of your needs, feel free to just let us know, okay? Let us know if you'd be interested in learning more, and we are here for you. Awesome. Now, just so you know, from our point of view, you are in the right place if you are a learning professional. This means that you can work as an L&D internally in a company, or in talent development, or even outside your organization as a freelancer or consultant. Also, you are curious to learn about AI. Right? It's the title of the session, so it's pretty important. Then you might feel overwhelmed by the everything that's happening, not only the constant chatter, the constant sharing, the constant tools that appear overnight and all of this. So you might feel a bit overwhelmed. You have questions, obviously, about how you can adopt AI in your work as an L&D, but also just a professional working nowadays. And finally, you might be interested in joining our program, Fundamentals of AI for L&D Leaders. I'm going to talk a bit more about that later, but for now, some of you said that you dabbled, you even used this word, dabbled in AI. So the next question that I have for you, since AI has been here for a while, it's not such a long while, although it feels like it's always been here, but it has been here for a couple of months. Question is, how have you used AI so far? And again, I'm just gonna give you a couple of seconds to share in the chat. And I am meanwhile gonna read some of the last comments. Definitely the title felt intriguing. Bob says that AI information is coming at me from so many sources. I completely agree. I feel exactly the same. And now let's see the thoughts coming in. I started with Watson years ago, but fell off the radar. Mostly just ChatGPT for program ideas. I am also a ChatGPT fan just because it's been here the first, I guess. Only to reword texts, help in course development, also meeting transcripts and summaries. Zoom has an AI feature now. I'm personally not very pleased with it, but it's definitely here. Robin, you're not pleased either. I can see that. Okay, how else have you used AI, if in any way? We'll see how we can use AI in a moment. Just giving you, okay, this is a very
Sorry, it's a bit long. I apologize.
Gabi, you can go off mute. Feel free to go off mute and tell us.
Yeah, I use it for a bunch, but it depends on the AI that we're using. Our company's also looking at Copilot right now, which has also been kind of a cool tool to play around with in Microsoft. And we use it a lot in terms of how are we designing strategies. Sometimes I'll take in skills that I have for a certain cohort or group, and use it to guide what kind of training we have, or how a manager is approaching things. Also using it as a form of practice. So as people are going through certain courses, we usually also direct them to use AI as a kind of place to explain and use analogies, and understand topics a bit more fully, whether it's with their cohort or by themselves. But yeah, there's a bunch of use cases for it. Those are just a couple off the top of my head.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. You're definitely one of the lucky ones, also because your company is allowing you to do so much with AI. I know from talking to other L&Ds that that's not the case for everyone. Thank you so much, Gabi. Go off mute. That's more than fine. To get more info and ideas when I provide objectives and outcomes. Also to provide information that I need editing, making concepts easier for learners to understand. Definitely. ChatGPT for building projects, image creator, awesome, and search. And I also use it to edit proposals. Well, thank you so much. There's definitely a lot of use cases that you can already pick up from peers in the chat, which is awesome. And now, for the next couple of minutes, I want to introduce you to Rita. And actually, I will ask her to introduce herself because we're all adults here and she knows best who she is, right? So,
That's not
Rita, the
very
mic is yours.
philosophical. Yes. So nice to be here with you all today. I actually see some familiar names, so I'm happy to see some of you here today. My name is Rita. I am originally from a lovely city in Portugal called Porto, like the port wine. So if you ever had port wine, that's where I'm from. I've actually left Portugal many years ago, in 2013, to look for international opportunities, and I've never came back. Of course, I go back for visiting my family, but I'm currently living in Stockholm, Sweden. A little bit about my professional path. I have a background in business, which I think you just go to business, right? That's an easy thing to go when you're in college. But life took me in the NGO area, actually. So I worked for an NGO for 5 years right after college. And that's really how I got into learning and development. I would say by mistake, really, because I started to coach teams on how to be more efficient, and I kind of saw that as learning and development. And then I said, okay, this is really what I want to do. I want to make people better. I want to find people's potential and help them achieve that. Exactly, Lavinia. And currently, so I work in a company called Sana. And we actually work a lot with AI. So our product has AI embedded everywhere. So probably that's why I'm hosting this today also. But I really have seen the powers of AI. And I think many of you saw today that you wrote, hi. Many of you wrote that cutting through the AI hype was an interesting title. And I really wanted to call it like that because I do feel there's a lot of hype out there. Some of it is real, some of it is not. And I think we all, as L&D professionals, have to be informed on really making our own decisions and being not biased to, these peril, I would say, narratives. But yes, I'm really happy to be here with you today. As I've mentioned, I being with L&D professionals is really helpful to me as well because I don't get to do that every day. So thanks all for joining today. And I guess I'm going to share my screen now because we're going to jump straight into some of the challenges that we think today's session can really help you with. By no means these are, exclusive. Maybe you have more challenges that you have identified. I just want to confirm if you can see my screen. Yes,
All
super.
good.
Yep.
Very good. So I guess that when we were looking into, okay, how can we make today's session as valuable as possible, Lavinia and I, we were really looking, okay, what could be some of the challenges that we've heard, right? And I work currently in a more consulting role, so I get to work with a lot of organizations that indeed go through some of these challenges. So the first one is, look, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. Some of you today did mention that as well, that you know this is something we have to kind of go through, but how do I start? Okay, we're going to talk about that. Secondly, I would like to use AI more, but my organization doesn't allow me. And this is unfortunately quite real, I would say, in the corporate world. And I used to work with a lot of compliance teams before in my previous role. And definitely they are the most worried about AI. So we're going to talk a little bit about, where to start, even if your organization doesn't allow you. Number three, I don't feel like I have the skills to make the most out of AI. Totally normal. And I would say here, you don't have to know everything, but there are a few things you can start with. Number four, I don't know exactly how I can make it useful for my work. So we're going to talk a bit of some use cases. And my favorite, probably, because I do think it's quite easily busted, it's, I don't trust AI, right? And I think here, let's see, where I think we have a poll going on. So which of the challenges are relatable? Um, we have some favorites. Well, I'm happy to see that almost no one here doesn't trust AI. I like that. So it means we don't have to do a lot of myth busting. Great. We also have a lot of people who actually they don't seem to agree that the organization doesn't allow to use AI. So that's also great. Seems like we have people from more modern, type of organizations. However, many of you are overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. I'm there. I'm with you right there. It also overwhelms me sometimes. I don't feel like I have the skills to make the most out of AI. Fair. And I don't know exactly how I can make it useful for my work in L&D. All right. But then I guess we're going to jump straight right in. Can I do it, Lavinia? Can I start? Amazing. All right. So I just want to mention something, and I think we all agree, and that was really, again, the title of today's call, reducing this AI hype. And if you think about it, I think the world has changed slightly back in November 2022. And I don't know if you remember what happened there, but ChatGPT was released in November 2022. 4 months later, OpenAI had a new version of ChatGPT called ChatGPT 4, and this was completely improved. But then, in 2023, other companies also started to work with AI. One that I really like is Anthropic, and they actually built a model called Claude, right? And just to give you some overview of how how fast we are traveling in this technology. If you think about it, in March 2023, Claude's model was able to support 9,000 words per minute, okay? But 2 months later, they were able to look into 75,000 words per minute. And we're talking about 2 months of development. We're not talking about 2 years, 2 months. So it's really hard for us not to, look into this technology. And one thing that I can already tell you is that it is here to stay, right? I mean, it is expected that AI can really reach $4.4 trillion of GDP annually. And just to give you an overview, the UK's entire GDP is $3.1 trillion. So, one unique technology will actually surpass the entire GDP of a huge country in the world. So looking into some of these challenges, where do I start? Yes, this is something that makes us very much overwhelmed. So I'm just going to share my screen. I am overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I see a solution for us to start with this. And this is really to understand the basics of AI for your unique area of profession, right? Again, AI will look different for a sales engineer versus an L&D professional. And here, I really want us to understand that AI should not be used in a vacuum. I was reading an article by Ross Stevenson actually the other day, and he really mentioned this idea of complementary skills, right? That everything with AI, if you just go to ChatGPT, right, and you add some prompts and you start asking a question, by itself, this might not be extremely valuable. But if you complement AI to your unique skills, to the knowledge that you have about your organization, to the trainings that you have to create, then we're talking. Then you're actually doubling the amount of impact that you can actually have. And here I always like to ask, what does a day look like to you, right? And then maybe you can start really using it to help you out with that. When it comes to AI specifically for L&D, I really, really do think that ideally, you would want to start understanding what is an LLM, right? What is actually that technology and how does it work? And how actually can I strategize and work on my day-to-day thanks to the LLM of ChatGPT or Claude or whichever other models. Another thing that I would also understand is that there are many models out there, and that AI is more than just one thing. AI can be a Tesla card, right? AI can be Uber being able to suggest you riders that are closer to you. This is AI. AI is already here. However, think of AI as text to text, right? So I ask a question and AI answer me. AI is more than that. AI can also be text to image, right? And more recently, also with Google's new video model, could be text to video as well. So I would really think about that. And I actually have a really amazing video that if you want to start looking into, and I don't know, we can actually add the link into the chat. I can add it later. This really helped me because it made it much more clear to me what AI could be and how I could use it in a nutshell, really. And it also made me a little bit more conscious that, again, it's not AI is not a bad guy or is not the thing that is going to solve all my problems. It's actually somewhere in the middle as well. So I would really, really look into that. Super. Now, going into the second challenge that we have, I would like to use AI more, but my organization does not allow me. And here I have a proposal. And I don't think many of you, as I've seen in the poll, many of you actually are in organizations that support you already. But if there is someone, if you see that you want to launch a new learning course on AI, or maybe you want to purchase a new tool that really has AI as the center, I would really start focusing first on me understanding AI, right? And only then being able to advocate for AI. We as L&D leaders, now more than ever, and I was actually doing a talk actually for Offbeat in Amsterdam a few weeks ago. And one thing that became very clear is that we as L&D leaders in our organizations have the responsibility to help our organizations and every single person actually in our organization know how AI can help them better. Because again, you might not be the only ones that are overwhelmed. Maybe you have lawyers in your organization, or maybe you have literally any other person who really doesn't know how they can use AI to their own development. So I would really start with slowly but surely introducing them to what AI could support them with, right? More courses out there, really talking to them, understanding what is it that they struggle with, what are the manual tasks that they go through on a daily basis, and how can potentially AI be a solution to that, right? So I would really try to think a little bit about that too, because in the end of the day, as anything with AI, or really as anything in L&D, I would even say, it all goes with adoption, right? You only need one department to buy you in that vision. And then it's going to be a matter of, a rippling effect, as I like to call it. So find that one department that might be a bit more tech savvy, a bit more risk taking, and then really use them to be the ambassadors for this huge technology for the rest of the organization. Build use cases, right? Discuss ROI, understand how productive they could become, right? And instead of being, hey, we're actually going to fire half of our workforce because AI is here to stay. No, I don't think that's very productive. I think on the other hand, you can tell them this can really, it can free you of so much work that can help you to do work that truly, truly matters. And I actually have a little thing as well to show you, because for me, one of the most important skills in AI is actually prompting, right? And many people come to me because we have also in Sana, we have a lot of AI functionalities, right? And many of our partners come to me and say, I'm asking this, but nothing is coming. It's not really relevant to me. Well, maybe prompting is not really working. So I really, really could not mention more how important the skill of prompting is for you, not only for you as an L&D professional, but as generally. And I would say there are many, many, many resources already out there. Here, I just wanted to give you one right? That you could really mention. I think the most important thing with prompting is that you are specific enough, and you as an L&D leader have the successful context of what is happening in your organization. For example, hey, I am a learning professional. We are a 100 people company, but we are growing. Or maybe, you know what, we're actually not growing anymore. With my team, I develop learning initiatives company-wide. We also want to implement a more decentralized learning culture internally. This is an important detail, right? Because not all organizations support a decentralized learning culture. So this is actually a very important detail. I would like to implement L&D more into our day-to-day activities. Please ask me 5 best practices from other organizations my size. And here you could even ask, tell me their names, right? What organizations actually are my size, to reflect on the application cases for L&D, and propose a list up to 10 specific use cases where the manager supports the employee's journey. Again, this is also important because most likely, if you are running a decentralized learning culture, there's a very high likelihood that the manager has a strong responsibility for the employee's development. It's not really centralized on you as an L&D manager, right? So I've also added a little link to a resource that has a bit more prompts as well and how you can really think about it. But I could put my hand on fire and say that prompting will definitely become a big skill for L&D leaders. And many of you today also asked, right? How can I start? Start with prompting, right? Start with ensuring that the results of the AI can really help you out with that. Super. Do we have any questions so far? Sarah, I would say it's about giving AI the full context and background. The stronger your background or context, the stronger the response. I couldn't agree more. In fact, I would even go one step beyond and say, and this is a strong statement, so apologies in advance, and we as L&D leaders have probably been waiting for this moment. You can all think about how you were spending your day maybe 2 years ago. You were probably manually adding people to a training program, right? Or you were probably, again, writing every single part of the training yourself, spending 2 months doing it, only to after realize that, oh, actually, you know what? People didn't need this. But this is the time to cut down what we have to do on a daily basis by half. And this is an assumption, but I think I'm quite close. And with the rest of the time, you can be free to be a true learning partner in the organization, right? I really do think that, AI can free you to do what we are meant to do, which is really ensuring that the organization is performing, ensuring that the employees are in a safe space that they can learn and evolve, right? So I think it's really interesting. And Sarah, I do agree with you. And one of my parts today is talking about the data aspect of AI. So a great point also. Super. Continue the comments. I'll try to read them once or twice. The third challenge that we have identified is that I don't feel like I have the skills to make the most out of AI. Yeah, we already touched a little bit about it, right, with prompting. But I would say that, yes, the solution is prompting. I think we had a little bit of a mix out. It's okay, no problem. But there are also other skills that I can actually voice over while I have you. The first question I want you to ask yourselves is the following. Are we using AI to create more? If yes, is this the right thing to do? Because I think we probably already have enough things in the organization, right? So are we using Sana to create more? And I would say in the end of the day, is that creation just going to fall flat, right? Because in the end of the day, maybe do you have the buy-in in the organization for what you are creating? That's the first thing. The second thing is, what are some of the skills that you believe AI can then help you with? And I will add a few. First of all, AI can definitely help you define and clean up your strategy for L&D, right? And I think many of you today, communication is such a big skill. And I personally, English is not my first language. So I actually use AI quite a lot in order to be able to make my point across a bit better. And I can tell, it's better than any English teacher in the world is something that can really help me. Secondly, I think another skill would really be the ability to ask the right questions in your organization, right? And here could it be, how can I do a great needs analysis, right? Am I getting internal buy-in? And this is something, again, if you use AI can triple or quadruple your brainstorming powers. I also know that I had another slide on the skills, but we will probably get there as well. Let's see which one I had now. Okay, yeah, this is good. I have a few more AI skills that I had prepared for you. The first one, AI fundamentals, as I mentioned, right? So really understanding what is behind this technology. Secondly, how can I really apply AI on my day-to-day? And thirdly, also busting myths on data and model training. And this is actually going directly to your point, Sarah, because many models out there, or should I say, many applications of AI out there don't actually train the model. I get this question probably every day from different customers I work with, asking me, okay, Rita, how does your technology use our data to train the model? And I answer them, we don't. We actually don't. Data is transient for us, right? And this is probably the biggest myth that I bust overall. And I think this is also part of those skills as well that I would like to talk about is, okay, actually, are we just being fearful about this technology and not? And you will be surprised to know, as I've mentioned, that many models or many applications out there don't actually train the models. So something good to be aware of. Another challenge, let me just see if we have any more. Robin, using ChatGPT has helped me to connect seemingly unconnected pieces of data to help teams see new possibilities. Absolutely. I would say that data analysis is definitely a skill that we're going to have in the future as well, mostly on storytelling, right? So how do you tell the right stories with this amount of data that we have? And not all in L&D, not all of us actually have the skills to be able to, properly analyze all of this data. So this is going to be important to do. Looking more into this other challenge, so I don't know exactly how I can make it useful for my work in L&D. And here my solution would be start by looking into your daily tasks and identify the manual tasks that can be scaled with AI. Again, data entry is one of them, right? Data analysis is another one of them. Automating learning experiences, even creating a draft for the training, right? That you are working on, and then kind of iterating on that. And also another one that I actually really, really love is curation. So I actually use AI pretty much every day to help me discover the best sources of content out there for specific, specific topics. So, I mean, I only have 24 hours in my day. So often it's hard for me to, okay, what are the best bloggers on this area? Or what are the best, LinkedIn people on this area and so on and so forth. And AI can actually really help me to dig whatever is happening out there as well. There you go. And here I think I had another one as well, right? So one of my absolute favorite reports out there, and we can also share it with you, no problem, is the McKinsey's report on generative AI. I would say is probably the best piece of research on Gen AI that a company this size, and I mean, we should trust McKinsey, right? They have hundreds of data points on AI. And one of the reports and graphs that I saw is this one over here that I wanted to bring to you. So the overall technical automation potential in specific activity groups and specific skills. So for example, if we look into decision-making and collaboration, without generative AI, you are looking into a 24% overall of potential automation on applying expertise. With generative AI, we're looking into almost 60%. Just imagine. And here we're talking about, again, remember, AI is the ingredient. You are still the chef, right? So you are still the one with the expertise. You are still the one with the data points, but AI can then help you say, hey, this is actually the best decision you should make with all of this information that you actually have. And specifically for, again, being known in the organization as an expert in this area to really help you with these creative planning, decision-making tasks, this is a good thing to do. Secondly, on managing, you can see an exponential support with Gen AI. And this is actually something I also use. I am managing a team internally, and I actually ask ChatGPT quite a lot on, this is what's happening with the team. This person did this, how should I react? How can I, really be better as a manager myself? And, it goes without saying that it's highly making you better as well, instead of me scrolling through hundreds of blogs trying to find the right information. And then interfacing with stakeholders as well. On the data management, you also can see on the processing and collection of data that there are, I would say, not that ridiculous amount of difference, but still quite high. And then they also speak a little bit on more physical type of skills, so more on machinery, more on manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Let's see. Robin, has anyone found cool tools for literally pulling together content from different PowerPoint decks, facilitator guides? Yes, there are a few tools out there. I don't want to advertise my own product, so sorry, Lavinia, but actually Sana does that. We can send you maybe a few more lists as well. Sarah, regarding your point about curation and asking for latest industry influencers, I would add that if you use the older version of ChatGPT, then just double check the recommendations, as it might be outdated. Absolutely. And then Rashi, can you give examples of automating learning experiences? Absolutely. So I am of the belief, and I try to do that. I tried to do that in my previous role when I was leading learning in Klarna here in Stockholm, that reaching the point of need for your learners is probably one of the hardest challenges that we have as L&D leaders, right? How can you ensure that when an employee needs something, a piece of information, that they find it, right? And I think we've all grown attached to learning through Google, right? I mean, I know I do. Almost every day I go to Google and I Google something. So I think the behavior of learning became quite adapted to this skill of, again, searching. So how could you do that, for example, with a learning experience? What I would do is that I would really, with my HR system, and I'm being quite specific, but I think this can be valuable. With my HR system, I would try to understand what could be specific attributes that would be important for me to truly tap into the learning to the just in need moment. I will give you an example. One very important point of need is when someone becomes a manager, right? And often, and I'm sure you relate to this, many organizations, how they go about manager training is that they have, okay, you become a manager, and immediately after you go to a 1 day, 2 days training where you talk about a lot of things, or you just have a whole program on that. Often what ends up happening is that people will forget, right? When actually you will be needing that information as a manager, it will be too late. You're going to have to go in and ask for it and so on. So, for example, one of the parts of those onboardings for new managers is how to onboard a new employee. It's quite common. What you can do with AI is that you can actually automate that the moment a new employee joins the company, the manager will receive, again, all automated with the LMS. You need an LMS for this, a learning management system. You can automate and say that, okay, Rita became a manager 2 months ago, and Rita's new employee is joining in a week. Let's send a Slack message to Rita with 10 things that Rita will need to do with her new employee on the first week. Hello, Rita. I don't know, Lavinia is starting tomorrow and next week. So you will need to do this, this, and that. Make sure you establish new goals with Rita. Here's the template that we have prepared for you, etc., etc. So this could actually be one example of automating learning experiences. And you can see the difference between before and after. Before, you would have to bulk all of this information into a big training. Most likely I would forget, because I think Lavinia would only start 6 months after I had my manager training. Instead, now I am clearly connecting with the point of need of this employee. This is just an example of automating these learning experiences. And yes, it does take some technology acumen to do it. But I can tell it's actually a very, very powerful thing to do. I used to do this in my previous company, and the managers appreciated that just-in-time information. Another way of doing it is, of course, building a search tool that can allow you to bring all of that information together, and that the assistant can speak to you and say, hey, this is what you need. But then you kind of have to trust the employee that they will ask those questions. So I wouldn't really think that's maybe as successful. Super. And I guess the final challenge is I don't trust AI. And I also want to leave some space for questions. So I'm running a little bit faster on this. And here is, it's okay. In fact, I think you should absolutely approach AI with caution. AI is not perfect, absolutely. Many models, to I think Sarah's point, they actually use that information to train. So maybe your company doesn't want that, right? And on the other side, AI is still incredibly biased. And we've seen many examples on race, gender, and a few other points as well. So yes, you should absolutely approach AI with caution, but avoiding it will get you behind the curve. And I really, really want to believe that L&D will remain human. What I mean with this is that you will still be the person, working and calling the shots in the organization. However, AI literacy is key. A few things. How can you operate AI tools, aka ChatGPT, some of the learning tools out there that you can actually help to generative content? How can you interpret AI-generated data and predictive analytics? So remember the story I was mentioning on how can you tell the right story on the analytics that you have access to? And also, more importantly, how can you predict? How can you say that, according to this, and this data, we predict... Oh, there's a bit of a background noise. According to this and this data, we predict that our managers in the organization will be needing this particular skill in the future. That's very powerful, and that's absolutely within the L&D domain. But you have to put in the work, right? Human-centered design thinking. I think AI will just make it more clear that we need to build experiences, not courses, right? And I think this is a very important distinction that I would really like to make, that AI will just make it more clear to us that, again, more and more content is not the answer always, right? That you actually do need to go into your organization and ask the right questions, that AI can help you brainstorm those questions, right? So just a few, a few more things that I wanted to mention before passing on to Lavinia on, again, understanding the basics of AI for your unique area of profession. Start with your own development and advocate for AI adoption through education and myth busting. Prompting, yes, will become a huge skill for you as an L&D leader. It's okay to approach AI with caution, but again, don't avoid it completely, because the companies that use AI will be better prepared for the future versus the ones that don't. And start looking at your daily tasks, and also identify, the manual tasks that can be scaled with AI as well. And with that, Lavinia, should we go through some questions, or what do you prefer?
Just while I give people a bit more time to think about other questions, if you can just click on the other slide, like a little promo moment, our little promo moment. So we are running a program called Fundamentals of AI for L&D Leaders. It's going to be facilitated by Rita. And I think honestly, the coolest part of the program is that you're actually going to use AI. So it's not going to be theory and you know listening to Rita, but actually doing the work and practicing prompting and other skills as well. It starts quite quickly, in less than 2 weeks, and if you have any questions about it, we are more than happy to answer them. And now, very aware of time, if you have any other questions, please do share, or any other thoughts as well. I felt like I really liked reading the chat and seeing
So I
really
think
cool
I
ideas.
just had a comment, a reflection that you really sparked for me, Rita. Just almost reframing it in the industry. We've been kind of changing the language from training and development to learning and development, and probably for the last, I don't know, 10 years, we've been trying to talk more on performance and learning. And actually, I think what I did prior to this session was still think of it very much of AI and L&D, but actually, when you talked about that onboarding experience, for example, that really spoke to me about going back to fundamentals of that we are performance and learning professionals, and the best things that we can do for our clients, whether internal or external, is think about the whole performance experience and what are all the solutions that need to fit together, not just those experiences. So that was really compelling for me. So now that I've flipped my mindset around how AI can really help us go back to first principles of what we do best, I'm excited again and not so scared.
No, exactly. I think that's such a good reflection, Robin. And I think I am the biggest believer that we are product managers, we are experience providers more than anything. And again, AI is just going to enable us to do things that we couldn't do before. Again, before doing just-in-time learning was actually pretty impossible, apart from a couple of attributes. Now we are much more ready to get to that, and using that to go back to our drawing board and seeing how can this by design have a better experience and a better result for the organization.
But I just think, like, previously it was, having to do all of those things manually was hard work, right? And now if we can then present to our stakeholders and go, okay, here's what the whole suite looks like, and here's where it's just dip in, like, it's just really compelling. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that insight.
Of course, thank you.
Cassie, go ahead.
You disappeared.
No, where did you go, Cassie?
I've only been operating remotely for years and years, and still, how many times a week do we start talking while still on mute? It's amazing. Okay, no, thank you. I'm loving this, and this is exactly kind of what I needed to light the fire. I guess in navigating the landscape of the technologies and the tools out there, one of my biggest questions is some of these tools are not L&D tools, right?
Yeah.
How are we looking at and even starting to look at the technology landscape? For example, my company just is piloting a platform called Glean, and they're using it for search.
Absolutely.
But as soon as I saw the demo, I was like, I think there's a whole lot in here that's more than search. And so again, part of me doesn't even know where to start looking or talking from a technology perspective. Is it only L&D tools, or given, you know, as Robin's talking about how this really fits into kind of the broader picture of performance, where do we start?
I think that's the $1 million question, right? Because also it goes back to the noise that is out there, that every day on my LinkedIn feed, I see a new technology, right? And really, you know, Cassie, what those are, often they are using the models that already exist, and mostly ChatGPT 4, or again, I know Microsoft also has a new model as well. So, and then they are just using that and creating an application on it. So, and that's actually what Glean is. Glean is actually tapping onto the into the model that already exists, and then just making it kind of a company assistant. So it's looking into all of the different technologies that you have, which, by the way, it's actually quite powerful, because it could look into SharePoint, Notion, literally any company thing you have, and then you can search and boom, you get an answer. I would also argue that you need to educate people on that, right? So I think this is a very good question, because when I think about L&D, and I know, Lavinia, if I'm speaking too much, just let me know, because I know time is running. But I think of learning as, when do we learn? And how can AI help people with that? So for me, we learn in a variety of different ways. We learn with e-learnings, right? We know that. We learn with a facilitator-led session, sure. And that's what 90% of the organizations are doing with L&D, right? It's not wrong, but that's just, it's the trend. It's what's happening. But I also believe L&D is responsible for, okay, how do we ensure that you as a team have the tools you need to be able to reflect? Because reflection is 1,000% learning, right? So how can you then use L&D, and in this case AI, right, to build those experiences? L&D for me, it's also about finding information that is relevant to me at the moment of time. And I would actually argue that Glean could very much be used for L&D purposes, because I also still believe people learn on the job, right? People learn when they search for something that they need, more than, okay, now I have 1 hour for this training, right? Often learning is right now. And I think if I would mention maybe one thing, is that it goes a long way to educate the organization on what learning is, because actually learning is a bunch of things, right? But if I would have to speak specifically on the tools, on the toolkit, there are companies out there that are more on the productivity sphere, right? Glean is one of them. Absolutely. Again, the benefits of it are incredible, because you can find information at a click of a button. If you prompt correctly, I could not say that enough. But you also actually have a lot of L&D tools for learning as well, right? You have a lot of coaching tools, or what I would call kind of an AI tutor as well, where kind of the learner can role play, right? And I wish I could, when I was an L&D manager, I wish I could role play with all my employees, because role play is so powerful when you get the feedback, when you really get to, on the job, boom, this is what you need to do better. But we don't have the time to do it, and often managers don't either. So an AI tutor, I would really look into that. And then you have a lot of learning, more LXP, right? Where, again, based on your preferences, based on your learning gaps, based on all of your behavior, almost like a Google, right? That is listening to everything we say, which is quite scary. They are not, but in this case, based on all of your behavior as a learner, this is what you should do, right? And they recommend you to that. And I would say there are some learning like LMSs and LXPs out there that already are quite on a long way on that. So you will find a lot of things, but I would, instead of the tool, I would find, okay, how can I optimize my role and my role as to educate people correctly? And then, yeah, the tool probably will help you to do that, even if it's not an L&D tool. And yeah, I went a long way there.
Nice. There's another question from Sarah.
Not strictly L&D, but do you have any experience for using AI for coaching/coaching ourselves? Actually, yes. And then we have Fiona. I would 100% include coaching. Absolutely. So, this is a powerful question. I just gave the example to Cassie as well, right? I think AI tutors can go a long way to provide you with that, and we have a few out there already. I would also mention, and the video that I shared right at the beginning, we didn't have time to go through it, but actually that person uses ChatGPT as a voice, and he goes on walks. So imagine instead of listening to a podcast, you go on a walk and you speak to ChatGPT as if it would be a person. This person actually did that. So I highly recommend. It's a clear clickbait. So now you're all gonna go to the video after today. But I would actually argue that what AI is an Einstein. Literally, it's an Einstein in your pocket. It's that pretty much. So you can really use it to coach yourself, right? To get access to so much information that even your psychologist, your other people may not have. But when it comes to L&D, I would say I would really try to use AI again for and it has to do with coaching for personalized experiences, right? So again, instead of being a one-size-fits-all course, I would like you to think about resources instead, right? Where
Could you
the
let her
learning.
know that Emily's not coming? Okay.
Oh, sorry. Where you maybe plug and play from different courses. And AI can do that, right? AI can say, based on all of these courses, this is 20 minutes, this is 30 minutes, this is 40 minutes long. I actually recommend this from this course, this from this course, and this from this course. And that's actually, I would say, kind of coaching in a way, because it's very much like unique to you as a person. But yeah, this is a loaded question. And it's also very philosophical too, right? Because how can AI help you be coached? That's a great one, really. I don't know, Lavinia, if you have any ideas, but it's a big question for sure. Super.
So we are running out of time. I just wanted to first thank Rita. This conversation can definitely go on and on. I think we're just at the beginning of exploring AI. Thank you all so much for joining us. Just to clarify, you're gonna receive the presentation, the recording, and the links to the resources in the follow-up. So no worries, they're all gonna be there. I just added in the chat Rita's LinkedIn profile. You can follow her there, and then the link to our program as well. Again, in case you're interested, we are here for any questions that you might have. Rita, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for joining. Bye.